for a relationship with your spouse. Sometimes I do some lifestyle posts. I'm going to flip my camera around now so I can talk with you guys better. Hello. Thank you so much for joining me. If this is your first time, welcome. Today I want to talk about a sensitive topic. And I know that there are a lot of couples out there that are really struggling in their sex life. And there are so many reasons why, that you will struggle in your sex life. And I think that negotiating sex in marriage is a very difficult thing to do. And I think that the world, like maybe movies or something, teach us or tell us that sex shouldn't be that hard or that complicated. But the truth of the matter is that it is. It's complicated because relationships are complicated. Everyone is different. Your spouse is not going to be the same as you. You guys are not always going to be on the same page. And that means everything across the board, including in your sex life. So the question I'm posing today is, what if your spouse wants to do something during sex with you that you don't like or maybe you don't feel comfortable with? What do you do? And I think that there are a lot of couples out there now that are just having all sorts of things thrown at them that they should be doing in the sex, in their bedroom, sexually with one another. Okay, so we've got obviously unfiltered access to porn now. People who aren't even trying to look for porn, it's getting thrown in their face. So is just so many other things. There's so many movies out now that you can go see, and there's a lot of things depicted in them. And I think that as the BDSM culture grows and the porn industry grows, there are going to be more and more couples faced with trying to figure out what are they going to be okay with in the bedroom. And you're going to have one spouse that's going to want to try things that the other spouse doesn't. Now, I'm not saying comes this conflict. And sometimes I think lower spouse drives maybe are a little bit more reserved than a higher spouse drive, a higher drive spouse. What am I saying? Lower. Find that low drive, sometimes we are that way because of just problems that we have about sexual acts in the bedroom. So what do you do if your spouse is asking you to do things that you just don't like or you don't feel comfortable with? First of all, you need to ask yourself, is there anything wrong with what they're asking me? Like, what is my problem? Am I morally opposed to what they're asking of me? And if so, why? Why am I against it? If you can't come up with any real moral reason other than, well, that's just not what you're supposed to do in the bedroom. Sex should only be one position with the lights off, being quiet. Okay, that's not true. I think that we see so much in the scriptures, in the Song of Solomon, that Solomon and his wife that look like ivory towers and all this stuff. Okay, obviously Solomon and his wife didn't have sex with the lights off, and they really relished in one another. Because we see all this description. How could she even have that description if she didn't really be adventurous with her lover? And we see her talking about going out to the, like she plans a date that she's like, let's go to the countryside and let's look at all the things that are in bloom and we are going to have sex. Let's have sex outside amongst the, henna blossoms and everything else. So guys, ask yourself, why do I have a problem with this sex act that my spouse is asking of me? And if the answer is, I am morally opposed to it, find out why. Figure out why. Why are you morally opposed to it? Okay? Is there something in Scripture that's telling you I'm against that? Well, I can go ahead and tell you right now. Okay, I think we can really see that in Scripture that lusting is wrong. Getting sexually aroused in that way, watching other people have sex, those things are just impure for us. But if your spouse is, say, asking you to give them oral sex, or maybe they want to give you oral sex, is that morally wrong? I don't see anywhere in Scripture where that's morally wrong. In fact, many people, Bible scholars, interpret the things that Solomon and his wife are doing and his wife saying, because this is very poetic. But some people really believe, like Bible scholars, people that know what they're talking about, feel that they were talking about orally pleasing one another. So if it's a moral question on, say, something like that, ask yourself, is it really in the Bible, or is this just... You can't move that way. Look, I see a lot of sex positions that are just anatomically impossible. They just are. Okay, so is it physically hurting you in... your own mind. Maybe you think something's gross. I know a lot of people don't want to give or receive oral sex because they are concerned about it being gross. And I think that that is something in your mind. It's kind of like maybe just mental. There is a way to get past that by cleaning yourself up. But maybe there's something else that your spouse wants you to do. I know that some people are all about the, you know, like, well, that's just gross. Yeah, okay, that's a little bit more than gross. That is actually... Okay, so maybe that is you going, okay, look, I don't want to put us in danger physically by doing something like that. That's a very good reason to say no to something. Or another reason why you might not like something your spouse is, that's what they're seeing. Or it could just be you mentally have a problem with whatever they're asking, and they're not trying to make you feel that way, but that thing is making you feel that way, whatever it is. And some of that could be due to the past sex abuse that maybe you've experienced. Maybe some of it is just in your own mind. So the first thing you must do is figure out, why don't you want to try or do this thing that they're asking of you? right? And I'm just going to keep talking about oral sex because I'm not going to bring a whole ton of other things that you might do. I know that there are a lot of people that have a hang up about that, and I will talk about that. There's plenty of other things in the bedroom that people do and want to try, and I'm not going to go over all that today. So, but if your spouse says to you, I would really love to have oral sex because that makes me feel very close to you, it makes me feel very loved by you, then hey, maybe you should consider it. I don't know what, is going on in your bedroom or what your spouse has been asking of you and you've been kind of reserved about it, but figure it out. Figure out why you're having a problem with it and why they want it, okay? If they are just saying to you, well, our sex life is boring and I think we need to try a bunch of new things, I'm not saying that that's the wrong motivation to get adventurous. However, I don't think that that should be the biggest motivation to pressure your spouse into doing something that they don't like, okay? I really don't think so. But if they, like I said, they say, man, I really feel like we're going to connect on a better level if we try this, or maybe I want to try it for you because I think it's going to be really awesome for you, so please let me try this for you. That's, it might be worth it for you to try. And here's what I have found about becoming adventurous in the bedroom. Any new thing can be kind of uncomfortable at first. It might not be wrong. There might not be anything wrong with it. There isn't. There's very little wrong that we're going to do in the bedroom together, all right? But maybe you're just having something that you feel uncomfortable. Maybe your spouse wants to have sex with you in front of a mirror so you guys can see each other. And you're like, oh, no, I am not looking at this naked body, right? That makes you feel uncomfortable. But try it. Maybe you'll be like, wow, this is really amazing, and I just see the beauty of us having sex with each other because I can actually see what's going on. So maybe you're thinking to yourself, I don't want to try that because I am going to feel hideous. At marriage429.com, and she was talking about how her husband had wanted her to like maybe dance for him, or I'm not really sure what all. Maybe he wanted her to dance in a seductive way or something like that, and she felt so she just felt so reserved about it because she didn't have confidence, and she felt like, well, what if I do all this and he doesn't like it? And she said that she just built herself up to do it, and she looked at some videos on YouTube to kind of get some dance moves, I guess maybe like some instructional dance video type things, so that she would have some idea of what to do when the music started. And she practiced her little routine, and she got some clothes on that she really felt comfortable in and felt good in. And she said she did that for her husband, and first of all, he loved it. He was so thankful that she put herself out there for him. But you know what else she found? She found that because she did that, she felt more sexually confident. So when you're thinking to yourself, I feel reserved about trying this new thing in the bedroom, really figure out why. Figure out what your spouse is asking of you. And then guys, have an honest conversation. Don't hide from your spouse your feelings about it. Really talk about it. If you are feeling ashamed because you're trying something new, work through it. Whether it's because of sexual abuse, maybe it's because of just a poor understanding of sex and marriage and God's gift to us, figure that out. Talk about it with your spouse and consider allowing yourself to be stretched. Now, I'm going to put a disclaimer here, because there is a whole lot of stuff out there in the BDSM lifestyle that is insanely degrading, and it's hurting people, and it's damaging marriages and relationships, because a lot of, not all of it, because there are some Christians that will do some of the things that are in that lifestyle, but I'm not going to ever sign off on that, guys. I'm just not. I can't, because I don't know you. I don't know your spouse. I can't. So I would say that there are a lot of people out there trying things that are not safe. They are dangerous and they are degrading. So when you're thinking about trying new things in the bedroom, you guys really need to be questioning this, answering this question. Are we trying to get closer together, one another, and meet each other's sexual needs, both of us meeting one another's needs in the bedroom, or is it all self-focused? Because if what you're doing in the bedroom, I don't care if it's just regular sex, where maybe missionary position or something like that, if you don't come into it thinking to yourself, we want to come together and to be united with one another and express ourselves together, and please the other person, glorify God in your sexual relationship with your spouse. So if you have a spouse who's asking you to do things that you're not feeling comfortable with, consider it. If it's not going against your morals, if it's not wrong, if it's not hurting you, maybe you think, well, it's just kind of something I could kind of leave or take or whatever. If it's important to your spouse, you owe it to yourself and to them to at least try. As long as you're not feeling degraded, hurt, or something like that. You know what I mean? Those are the couple of things that we talked about at the start. If the act is making you feel really bad because it is bringing up past abuse issues or something else, really you owe it to yourself to figure out how you and your spouse can work through those past pains and hurts. Don't stay there. I know that men and women have been mistreated sexually. If that is you, if that's where you're coming from, and you're like, well, I'm not going to be a sex toy, or I'm not going to do this because it is bringing up a lot of bad men. You need freedom from the sins that were done to you, and Christ gives us that. So don't feel like you can't express yourself in your marriage because of past abuses or past promiscuity on your own part or whatever. So guys, I know this scope was kind of heavy, but I think it's so important. It's kind of bringing this tear between the two of them in their sex life. And so I want to encourage you guys to work through these conversations. Work through it. Be very open and honest with your spouse about your feelings. Listen to them. Listen to them. And if you just cannot be okay with what they're asking of you, work with them to come up with something else that you can do with them that they might love. Something equivalent or something different that they see you really care for them. Because sometimes, guys, I think that our spouses just want to know that we desire them. And if you will do that for them, you might find that their request for this thing that they're asking for, maybe they'll be okay without it. If you'd like to know what I've been blogging about, go up to lovehopeadventure.com and you can find out what's been on my mind. And I also wanted to mention before I get off of here that I talked with the owner over at marrieddance.com the other day, and they are a Christian-friendly adult store. They sell some toys for adults, some lingerie. It's very limited lingerie. I think it's just pasties. And then they have some cool bedroom games. And you guys know I'm a big bedroom game fan because I keep creating bedroom games for you guys to have that are free on my website. Anyways, Married Dance is offering you guys a coupon. They have worked very hard to keep things clean and Christian friendly and keep the porn out of it. And I'm just thankful that they're doing that. So guys, thanks for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you guys on Monday.